Hello friends, welcome to Block Bytes. Today I will talk about something that I usually stay away from, which is speculation. I'm not in this space for speculation, but I like to listen to industry experts with sound theories when it comes to value appreciation. So when Jamie Coutts from Bloomberg in his later interview said that he feels Bitcoin could reach 100,000 US dollars by 2025, it raised my eyebrows. And I wanted to understand why he feels this way. My approach to this research was to focus on the demand and supply of Bitcoin, as that is where the answer lies. So I searched for data that would either suggest an increase in demand and or a reduction in its supply, which would certainly explain his optimism. I will be presenting these data points grouped under three categories. Number one, adoption. Any news or data point that would indicate an increase in Bitcoin's adoption or demand. Number two, supply squeeze. Any news or data point indicating a reduction in its supply. And institutional adoption or institutional acceptance, which is perhaps the biggest driver for the growth of Bitcoin and the crypto space in general. Let's start with adoption and look at some key indicators and news. The most straightforward metric to understand adoption is the number of active addresses on Bitcoin. As seen in this chart, the active addresses has increased since its inception, and so the price of Bitcoin. Since this is an indicator of demand, the more the increase, the better it is for the price of Bitcoin. Here is another chart. It is clear from this chart as well that active addresses have an upward trend. Jamie in his interview said that he expects the active addresses to reach 1 to 1.2 million by 2025, which certainly seems plausible given the increasing trend. Currently, the active addresses range between 450,000 to 850,000. Let's look at some news. First is this tweet, which shows Mexican Senator Indira Kempis making a bold statement that Bitcoin could be the future of Mexico. Although this is a positive sign, it has no tangible impact on its adoption just yet. Speaking of countries showing interest in Bitcoin, El Salvador, another Latin American country, adopted Bitcoin in September 2021. The price of Bitcoin has fallen since, primarily due to the bear market. However, the move has helped the country, and its tourism industry grew by 30% since the law was passed. The probability of another bear market seems remote. Suppose Mexico does adopt Bitcoin, or any other country for that matter. In that case, the number of new active addresses will certainly trigger the price to rise. Now that we've looked at demand, let's switch gears to see the supply side of Bitcoin. Let's look at the supply curve since the beginning. The slope is starting to straighten out, meaning that the supply is steadily decreasing. The main reason behind this phenomena is called halving. Halving is an internal mechanism in Bitcoin that automatically reduces the rewards miner get every 4 years. This deliberate design element of Bitcoin was created to counteract the inflationary pressure on the asset. As you can see from the picture, prior halvings reduced the supply of Bitcoin, eventually leading to all coins getting mined when it reaches the 21 million mark. Halving brings the supply side pressure for Bitcoin, and the next halving is expected to be in March, April, or May of 2024. Historically, Bitcoin's halving is followed by a bull run. So people feel strongly that this pattern will continue after the next halving as well. I've added some arrows here to make it easy to visualize. Before every halving, there is a period of prolonged sideways activity. If history repeats, we should see the current sideways movement continue until the next halving. Also, the chart shows that after the halving happens, there is a bull run. Again, if history repeats, we could see a similar bull run right after the halving. Bitcoin hash rate is another supply side constraint. Simply put, the hash rate tells miners the amount of computing power they need for mining. As this rate increases, it becomes difficult for miners to mine for new coins, so its value also increases. As is evident from this chart, the hash rate has been on the rise since the start of the network and will only increase further, making it more and more difficult to create new coins. Another supply squeeze is reported by Jamie. In his tweet, he said that spot BTC is rapidly flowing into addresses that have 0.1 to 10 Bitcoins, creating a supply squeeze before the next halving. He also said that hoarding or hodling of BTC has reached new highs, meaning people are unwilling to part with their BTC, causing more supply issues as we move towards 2024. So with more and more people buying and keeping Bitcoins, there is less and less going around in the market, creating supply side pressures. Let's move on to institutional adoption now. This one simple metric to quantify institutional adoption is the open interest and volume for Chicago Mercantile Exchange crypto futures. This metric shows the inflow of institutional money into the futures space. There has been an evident decline since the last quarter of 2021, continuing to date due to the hostile macro environment, which has affected all risk-on assets. And as we begin to see the macro picture change, these risk-on assets will see a jump in volume and open interest, with Bitcoin leading the pack. Just this chart from CoinShares shows how much exposure crypto assets got in funds. As is quite evident, the bull run of 2019 and 2021 saw a steady rise in the percentage allocated to crypto assets in funds. Then it dropped because of the overall macro environment. Similar to open interest in futures, we could see a rise in the inflow of money into Bitcoin and other crypto assets as the condition improves. But when can we see this change start? Jamie, in the same interview, said that he expects an increase in institutional adoption as early as end of 2023. All right, let's put everything together. We see a steady increase in adoption based on active addresses. More countries are opening up to the idea of shifting to Bitcoin. Supply side constraints continue to push down hard. And unlike demand, they cannot be stopped or reversed. Halving and hash rate is the most prominent, along with the additional pressure due to increase in hodling. And finally, institutional adoption, which has slowed down primarily due to the macroeconomic conditions, could see a reversal as soon as the conditions change, which could be at the end of 2023, according to Jamie. All these factors together certainly explains why he thinks Bitcoin could reach 100,000 US dollars by the end of 2025, except for the elephant in the room called regulations. Given the lack of transparency around regulations, which could very well be by design, we will not see massive institutional adoption, but time will tell. No one knows what the SEC will do, but most believe it will not suit crypto and Bitcoin. I hope you like this video. Relevant links are in the description. I will see you next time with another fresh bite. Bye-bye.